Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club. Kenworth Trucks Australia and Pace Farm Eggs.
G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome to the show. This week I bring you to a suburb just north of Melbourne in Victoria. It's time to feature a Mopar guy that does the lot in this week's Classic Restos on the road. When it comes time to our restorations, there's not many of us that do everything. There's always usually something or a few things that we source out to the trades during our builds. And if you do everything, well, that is fantastic for you. And today it's about exactly that. It's time to meet Brian Dowell, body fabricator, spray painter, interior trimmer, and mechanical initiator.
We all have our skill sets, and the more we can do, I guess, the better it is. But there's some that instigate a vehicle restoration from front to back and everything in between. Like most of us, Brian got into cars at an early age. Brian appreciates all brands and was originally around his father, who was a Holden man. Through the years, Brian's passion went to Ford. Then, around the late 90s, he fell out of the Mopar tree and he hit every branch on the way down. Brian has two locations, here at home and at his shop. Between the two locations, every job, except a wheel alignment, is carried out. Time now to see a few of Brian's cars and to hear a few of his stories.
So this 1970 Plymouth Road Runner, a friend of mine in New York found for me in 2018. Rolling shell is a factory 440 6-barrel 4-speed car, super track pack, Dana 410 rear, that I put together in New York in 25 days from a bare shell to a running, driving, registerable car that we jumped in and drove from New York to San Francisco in 7 days. So hammered across America, so a lot of sentimental value with that car. Had a great time, really big effort to get that car to that point. And then when the car got back to Australia, I restored the car to how you see it today. I like the Plymouth Road Runner because in Australia it's not all that well recognised. Of course, the styling, the stripe, everything about a muscle car, a Road Runner depicts. You know, it's got the performance, but it's also got the attitude. And this is it now, all shiny, but a lot of fond memories and a lot of hard work. And crammed into 25 days, but it was worth the while. Looking at it now, come up really nice. I love the dust trail, you can't beat that. Also factory B5 blue interior, so the body colour is B5 blue on the outside and the interior is matching B5 blue, which I love colour, as you know, I talked about it before. And that's how they were. This car, the way you see it, is as close to how it was originally when it was first sold. Imagine going to a dealership back in 1970 and say, I'll have that. How cool is it? So this is something that a lot of people recognise. They nicknamed the pistol grip 4-speed. Obviously, it's got that shape of a pistol grip. It does actually feel really nice in your hand to grab a hold of. All the gauges, got nice rally pack gauges on this model. A 6-barrel 440. These were rated at 395 horsepower. And it's got 3 hollies, which add up to, I think it's 1150 CFM. So a lot of fuel goes down there when you're opening up. They've actually got quite a unique sound, the induction is, when you give this full throttle and you go hacking down the road. You can actually, it's got a really nice roar to it when you open up the 6 barrels. Yeah, so this is a functioning, in theory, a functioning ram air. Now, how efficient they really are is probably debatable. So this little flap here, when you activate the switch on the dash, it shuts the air so that the air is rammed from the outside. Sorry, shuts this flap so the air is rammed from the outside of the car and into this area. It seals around here and rams air in around into the air filter. And then when you have it the other way, it opens this flap up here so the air just comes in through the engine bay like normal. Plymouth paid Warner Brothers 50 grand for the rights to use the decal, the Road Runner, and this is what they used to write on the horn. It says Voice of Road Runner, isn't that cool? And I think it's got the rights underneath there to Warner Brothers underneath it. And of course they've got their own unique sound, that's the whole idea. My car collecting, of course, started with probably most of us like Hot Wheels cars when I was a kid. That's why a lot of my cars that I have today look like Hot Wheels cars, only bigger. Little Magnums, little red lines. And it's just an extension of your youth. And, you know, I go into my garage to see my car collection, which ultimately the car collection I have today, it's probably taken me 30 years to get here. And, you know, it's just wonderful walking out in the garage and just looking around, you know, what I have and what I've built over all those years. I'm lucky in the sense of the car collection. The main reason why I have a fairly large car collection is because I've been lucky enough to develop the skills over the years to actually do every aspect of the build myself. So initially started off mostly with body work, and then I sort of went into mechanical work, and then motor trimming, body paint. It just morphed into a bit of everything. So also worked into my business in the end doing that as well. So I never planned it that way. I started out as a fitter and turner. I never expected to be doing cars as a living, but my passion for the cars and the fact that I wanted to do things my way, it just ended up that I had to do it on my own.
I spend a lot of time out here. The RT Charger's the real deal. An E49. Remember A-Charger? I've always got projects on the go, so Shannon's laid-up cover helps protect my restorations. I'm Mopar through and through. It's a passion Shannon's understands. I wouldn't insure my cars and bikes with anyone else.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
In 2025, why not consider a tour of Detroit, Michigan, USA with Fletch? Detroit, it's the Motown City, the automotive epicenter. Each day is wow, wow, and more wow. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Book your exclusive 2025 Detroit tour with Fletch. Enquiries at DetroitClassicTours.com.
If you own classic vehicles or memorabilia and more, why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And keep in mind too that becoming a member of the Shannons Club has never been easier. For more information, visit shannons.com.au.
So my Dodge Daytona 1969 clone or replica, whatever you want to call it, is a car that I never particularly lusted after. It just happened to come my way, and I do say this a lot in my car collecting, is that sometimes cars just seem to fall in my lap. This car came to me also through a friend, actually the same person I bought the six-pack Road Runner off, had this car sitting in his backyard, and I was aware of it, and it kind of fell in my lap. And originally I was just going to build it as a Charger, and then my friend Rick said, well, why don't you build a Daytona? And if you're not aware, 69 Daytonas really require a 70 to start with to clone, mainly because the front sheet metal, they used the 70 front sheet metal on a 69 Daytona. So it's a good car to start if you're going to build a clone replica 69 Daytona. So the car kind of came my way, and next thing I've gone from doing one thing to something completely different, and the car turned into a Daytona, and I tell you, it was the best project I've done. I just loved every minute of it, and the end result, it's an absolute dream. It's worked out so good. This car started out 20 years earlier in a restoration shop, a bit like mine, only a little bit bigger. They'd prepared the car for restoration, so the quarter panels had been half cut off, outer wheel houses had been cut off, the boot floor had been taken out, the main floor had been taken out, and I saw it sitting on top of a 68 Charger in their wrecking yard. That's when I first laid eyes on it. So it was a real sight. So when I first saw it, coincidentally, I just finished building another 70 Charger that I have here, and it was a major job. The only original panel left on that car was a door and a guard. I think the rest of it had been swapped, every panel. And I took one look at this and I thought, oh God, I don't know if I'll do another one. That was a big job, but I couldn't resist when I saw the car. I thought, they're just so hard to get Chargers today and in any form. And the upside was that when the car had been prepared by the panel shop, I could see exactly where the good and bad was, because all the rust areas were exposed. All those areas you're never real sure how good or bad they are. And I could tell exactly what I was buying. The negative was they'd had the car media blasted after they'd done all that work and then left it outside for 20 years. Can't believe I do that. Anyway, so immediately I got the car, I had the car re-media blasted, and luckily it was only really surface. Even though it was brown, it wasn't deep and it wasn't pitted, so I had the car media blasted, then 2-pack epoxy primed, then I had my base to start. And really the only thing that's going to be exposed was the roof and the tops of the quarters, so if you see the restoration you'll see. So I wanted to try something different with the driveline, so it's got a 6.4 SRT Hemi motor with a 5-speed TKX gearbox. Interior wise, I was never trying, this car is not an original car, so I don't have to worry about it being original, which sometimes actually is a blessing, because you can do little things and it doesn't matter because the car's not genuine. So one of the things I've been doing a lot in my later cars is modifying the interiors. I want them to emulate the original interior, but I don't want the original interior. If you've ever sat in a B-body original bucket seat, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I run late model seats that I've sewn in my own way to emulate the original pattern, but I've got the comfort of the modern interior. I've got air conditioning, power steering. What else do you want? Suspension wise, I'm a bit old school. It's totally stock, just original. I just upgraded to 12-inch disc brake, power boosted disc brakes, standard drum brake rear. Has got a 355 limited slip rear. And I've got the BF Goodrich, of course. It looks perfect on the car with 8-inch wide 15x7 Magnum 500s on the front and rear, which I don't normally run that wide, but this car seemed to dictate it needed a bit of a wider stance. Building a Daytona is not as simple as you think. The rear wing is part of the integrity of the car, so there is framework, structural framework underneath the quarter panels that bolts into the floor of the car to support the wing. Back in the day, they used to have girls sitting on the wing, you know, for photos. They are very strong. And even though this is reproduction parts, they are super strong. You can grab the wing and wobble the whole side of the car. So back in the day, all this stuff was done for a purpose. So the Daytona was actually designed by NASA. NASA engineers designed the car in a wind tunnel. Dodge basically gave them the car and said, right, make that as efficient as you can. And they made the changes to the body to make it as co-efficient through there as they could. They reckon the race car drivers, when they drove it, those are the first cars to do over 200 miles an hour, which is pretty fast in 1969. They reckon the wing was like the hand of God coming down and controlling the back of the car, stopping it to slide around. So it's definitely a functional part of the Daytona. So Fletch, I know you're here today to do a feature on the 69 Daytona, which I'm sure is going to look wonderful. But while you're here, you may as well have a bit of a look in my garage and look at a couple of other bombs I've got. '70 Charger 500. Started out as a factory big block 383 car. I think the only two panels original to the car is one door and one guard. New roof, new quarters, new boot, new Dutchman, new floors. What a bomb. But I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Chargers are worth building. These are all to emulate the original interior, but they're all handmade. These had these mouldings cut in, laser cut in stainless. Handmade the door trims to match the upholstery, but this is how they looked in 1970. The seats are late model seats, but I've also upholstered them in a 1970 fashion. Even the console's handmade except for the top plate, because the 5-speed NAG 1 automatic gearbox sits a lot higher on the floor. So I made a console to match. Dakota digital dash, cruise control, air conditioning, power steering. What more do you want? This car has a 6.1 Hemi. Looks like it's meant to be there. They fit in absolutely beautiful. Slightly narrower than a big block and slightly wider than a small block, but just perfect for this sort of modification. So this is my 68 Road Runner. This has got to be one of my favourites out of my car collection. I've had this for about 17 years. Old school 440, but it's Indy headed intake and heads. Makes about over 500 horsepower, runs 12s in the quarter mile, just a grouse car to drive around. It's got real attitude, big cam, but it's also beautiful to drive. Heaps of torque, just a lots of fun. It's a real old school muscle car. The black hood makes it look pretty sinister. It's got the extractors are TTI extractors with 2-inch primaries. You can see this car's been driven. It's not exactly clean, but I've done a lot of driving on this car and it's just a lot of fun. I gravitate to drive this car quite a bit. Let me show you the interior, Fletch. This is actually pearl white. Reproduction parts in pearl white, which matches the interior perfectly. Nothing really too fancy in there, except that the modern seats just make it such a pleasure to drive. Just a standard strip speedo for a 68, a little built-in tack there, which is, you watch yourself a bit when you're going sideways. It's hard to tell how fast you're going. How many revs you're doing, I should say. My hobby blends into my work a little bit, so it's nice to have the upholstery at home. I run my records, and if I've got a car coming up, I might start it months before the car's finished and just chip away at it on the weekend. Sometimes at night, if it's nothing happening on TV, I'll come down and chip away, and it's a very rewarding job because it's so visual, and you see your hard work come back to you, when you start putting it together. It's a really, really rewarding job. I love doing it. I've been doing it for 20 odd years now. So it's my 1970 Plymouth Superbird. I didn't really start out in my car collecting think I'm going to collect wing cars. It's another thing that sort of came my way, but I did always lust after a Superbird. I've had this car probably over 15 years now. Petty blue is of course a bit of an iconic colour. It came that way. I actually redid the car, but it was already set up as a Superbird. It's also a tribute. But I've had a lot of fun with this car, and it's been the most reliable. I haven't had to put a spanner on it since I put it back together. It's been a great car. These cars, believe it or not, were designed by the styling department by Plymouth, whereas, as I said before, the Daytona was built by NASA, designed in NASA. These weren't quite as fast. They were a couple of mile an hour off. They weren't quite as efficient as what the Daytona was. The interior Fletch of the Superbird, totally stock, the way it would have come out. This is a 444 barrel, 727 on the floor. Just your regular Road Runner interior dash, and in black.
When I was a kid, I loved cars, still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Your story began in 1971. It's part of an endless tapestry that tells the story of our nation. It connects innovators to artisans, forests to houses, from the largest of operations to the smallest of outcomes. It's heritage. It's a legacy.
Yeah, Fletch, I've had a bit of an affinity for C-bodies. I still have a few of them. This is a car you cannot get. It's a car that really only existed by one. There was one of these built for the owner of the Hearst Shifter Company, and this replicates that. But to get this car, to replicate it, it's very, very hard to do. They only made 1175, 300 convertibles to start with. Of course, it's got the 440 4-barrel, which is all you need for these sort of cars, 375 horsepower. Well, this actual kit was made for the two-door hardtop that they bought out with the Hearst Company in 1970. It's all fiberglass. I don't know of another car with a built-in spoiler like that. I can't think of another model like that. The quarter panel extensions are also made to match the boot lid. That's also in fiberglass. So just a really unique look. It's just really cool, and obviously having the beautiful electric soft top go down when the sun's out. This is kind of like a banker's hot rod, really. When they had I always think that with the full-size cars. You want the person who wants the bigger car, but you want the performance and the attitude. So I think that's where they fall into, the C-bodies, into that category. And the good thing about Chrysler, people don't realise, is that when the convertible top goes down, it actually disappears into the body completely, and that curtain on the back seat there goes over the top, and you can't see the top. You look at Camaro, as another makes, they've got the convertible top sitting up high, it bulges with a big pocket. Doesn't look as good, I don't think. All the pinstriping back in the day was done by hand. So the Hearst Company hand brushed those back in the day. And same with the grille. I don't know if you realise the grille on these are also unique to a 300 Hearst only. These were highlighted with a silver edge on the front edge of each blade. And back in the day, they hand brushed those in orange, whereas originally that was red. And then the outer border was painted the same colour as the body in Alpine white. So that's little things you get to learn when you work with these weird cars that are a bit unique. Lap of luxury for 1970. Yeah, it's an era that'll never be repeated. That's got to remember that when you're driving these cars. It's something you're never going to see again. A funny little quirk thing with this as well, the steering column is actually General Motors steering column they used in Chrysler. It's a telescopic tilt. Got the 8-track there. That's another nice option. This car is very highly optioned actually. You know what? I've never bought a hubcap specifically. These have come my way through the years of building and collecting cars. Invariably I'll buy a car and there'll be a wheel cap in the boot or hubcap. Sometimes there's more. I don't know how I got them all. 68 Charger, you probably can tell by now I've got a bit of affiliation for Chargers. Coincidentally, this particular car came to me because my very first Mopar was a 70, which actually is this car. And I was looking everywhere for a 70. I sold the 70 when I about 15 years ago. I had that car 15 years, so that's how long we're talking. Looking everywhere for a 70 Charger, and it turned out this car was up the end of the street from where I work. Just happened to fall over it. I told you before, the cars seemed to come to me. Ended up with a 68, but even though that happened, I still had the itch for a 70, so this one came a bit later. So I still managed to scratch that itch. But anyway, this car was originally a 383 big block car, factory power window car, which is a bit unusual. I don't see many 68s with power windows. I've got a different switch, which is a little bit unusual. Same again, late model seats, done in the pattern. I've put some old school type headrests in there. They're not Chrysler on this car, but old school headrests that don't look too modern. This also has got vintage air, same deal. It's nice to be comfortable. As I'm getting older, I like the cars to be comfortable on air conditioning. I want to be comfortable when it's hot. Nice to have power windows in an old B-body. You don't actually see many. The switches are actually quite different. They've got little toggle switches. And later on you've got the paddle ones which ran for years and years, but these ones are the early version. Anyway, it's nice to be able to put your finger on the button and power the windows down. Look at that. Pretty fast. Fast glass. So basically when they did the Daytona conversion, the window started about here, the plug went in here, down the sides, and it went to the bottom this point here. So they cut that much of the boot lid down, and they fed this whole area into a fastback, which, as I said, was a low pressure area. Made it quite tricky to do the headlining, I might add, because the headlining gets stretched around the actual factory bed of the back window. So that was also quite tricky to do. And also the parcel shelf was bigger at the back than at the front, so it was actually quite hard to make and get it in there because it had to be bent to get in there. So this is obviously the fastback plug that's put in. This is the point where I showed you on the other car where the back sail panel would have ended. That's the deck lid cut down. And then that's the bed of the original back window on the angle in there where the headlining's got to be wrapped around. So it's quite tricky getting that in. And obviously because it comes back that way, the parcel shelf's wider at the back than it is at the front. So it's quite tricky. So we've got a little 69 Dart. I got this out of Oklahoma off a farm. 80,000 miles, original paint, just a nice, honest, untouched sort of car, minimal rust. At this stage I'm leaving it unrestored. I'm enjoying the fact I don't have to worry about it too much in the car park. But just started out life as a slant 6 column automatic. It was actually air conditioned and a light package, which is quite often unusual on an A body because they were the cheaper end of the market. They didn't get many options. And of course we weren't going to be satisfied with a slant 6, so we gave that the arse. And we put a 5.7 Gen 3 Hemi. So this is a engine I picked up actually through the same fella I bought the Daytona off. He had this engine sitting on the floor and banged it in. Give you a look inside Fletch. It's not super flash, but I did it with intentions of driving it a lot. And I wanted a cloth interior. This is like a suede, a bit hard to see there in the dark. I did fit A-body style headrests off a slightly later model because I just want it to kind of, when the door's shut, I want it to look old, not too new. But the advantage, once again, with modern seats, it's just so comfortable and good, lots of side bolstering, so when you're going sideways, which I wouldn't do, you don't fall out of the seat. So I still kept it column shift automatic. It's got a classic air conditioning system under the dash, which they basically had that in an A-body anyway. So it actually represents pretty well to what they were like. But you've got the modern air conditioning, which runs the the 134 gas. So they run beautiful and cold, and the air speed is a lot faster on the modern system, so it blows air cold and keeps you comfortable in the car. So beauty, love it. So this little car here, 71 Dodge Demon, I built specifically for my wife, her indoors. Started out life as just a basic 6-cylinder. I bought it out of a chicken coop in California, but just a really good car to restore, and then converted it to a V8. And this has actually got the later 360 Magnum V8 that only came out in pickup trucks and vans. They never had them in a car, but they're based on a small block 360. So interior wise, I made sure it was colourful. So this is actually new old stock material out of a UC Tirana, which I got locally. Late model seats out of a TX5 Telstar. This is the right headrest for this era car, so I modified those headrests to fit the late model seats. Standard dash, but I did run also a classic air conditioning unit under the, like I did on the Dart. It's column automatic, just all totally stock. Handmade the door trims because I wanted the little accent there of the interior on the door trim as well as the interior of the car. So anyway, it's just a nice little car. A bodies are small; they're so easy to drive. I really have affiliation with A bodies now. I like the B bodies and the C bodies, but the A bodies just seem to be a bit easier and lighter and smaller and easy to manage. Just a nice little car, and you don't really see many Demons around. There's not that many. This was one of the reasons why I bought the car, because this little one here reminds me of my wife. That's why I got the Demon. Isn't that cool little sticker? This has been my partner in crime, wonderful support. I'm very lucky to have a wife who's supporting, and I thought the least I could do is build her a car.
And that's it for this week's show. You have seen just some of the incredible Mopar collection and the skills of Brian Dowell. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch. Thanks for watching.
Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club. Kenworth Trucks Australia and Pace Farm Eggs.